So anyway, today I wanted to kind of share with you that my first gameplay with Aurora, and in this, I think I ended up going 12 and 1. This is when she first came out. I never even actually used her in a bot game before this, which I should have done, but I didn't do it, and it ended up working out really well, and that's part of my complaint with her. I've noticed that basically like the match meta and gameplay has changed dramatically since she came out, and I think a lot of people would agree with this, that she's slowed down the pace of matches that she's part of. There's a lot less excitement and fun, but beyond that, she's either like the most overpowered or the most underpowered hero in any given game that you play with her. And that's for one of two reasons. It's either because people have the card Purity Sensor or Hunter's Guile, and they essentially completely negate her in a match, and she becomes one of the easiest heroes at that point to punish late game. Early game is still really hard to kill her because she's easy to escape, but late game when everybody has really long stuns and things like that, because the meta is very much geared around crowd control right now, then obviously she's really easy to finish off with an ADC or anything else like that. Now you'll notice here, this is obviously like before anybody even really realized you could use Hunter's Guile to deal with her, and I'm just in here just molly-whopping, running through these guys. They can't really do that much about me. Nobody really has any idea that you're supposed to be using those cards to deal with Aurora at this time. And so I'm just obviously just running through everyone, having a good time. And my experience with her has been like completely mixed. I either have the absolute best games with her because people don't have the proper cards to counter me, or I have just absolutely shitty matches with her, which is even worse. And obviously you can see I'm not very good with the ring yet because it's the very first time I used her. And I just end up having like I'll have like a game where I go maybe 3 and 7 with her, because every time I come in my ult gets countered and I get blocked, and I get stunned and knocked up by Decker or whoever else it is. And Belica obviously can use Purity Sensor. It's one of the reasons why she's become my favorite caster to use, at least right now. Because Gideon and other heroes they have no counter for her ultimate, and that's one of my biggest issues with her, is that she has the attack damage scaling of Feng Mao on her basics and other fighters. She has the ability scaling of Kwang, this is all like mathematically backed. So her ultimate gains as much power as Kwang's does from damage into her build. She's obviously fantastic with crit because of her scaling as Kwang, or I meant as Feng Mao on damage. And then beyond that, she has really arguably 4 escapes. She has 4 abilities she can use to get away from you if she needs to. If she absolutely has to, she can proc her ult to buy enough time to get away. She has a 1500 unit slide in game. She has the jump to avoid any rocks or any other types of like CC you might have for her. She just is like endlessly capable of getting away from you. And now you still see some people that don't use Purity Sensor, which is kind of funny. I mean, it's a little odd that you wouldn't have like the key to countering her on at least one build with any hero that's Order or Growth. But you still see a lot of people that don't use them. Now, that's also though one of the reasons why I really think that hopefully within these next few updates, where they're talking about, I believe it was 19 heroes getting some kind of a change to their kits, that she'll be one of those included in that, and that they will in some way change her ultimate to give her an ultimate that's more viable in all scenarios against any matches she might be in, but as well at the same time do something more to balance her, because she has an unbelievable potential for damage output in game, when your hordes of minions can be as large as like 18, 19, 20. And obviously she turns your own minions against you, which is typically, like with any other fight, the best time to fight is when you've got a larger crowd of minions than the other person does, because it's obviously going to add to your DPS when they start attacking you. But in her case, if you don't have Purity Sensor and you got a big crowd of minions around you, it's actually like the one hero in the game that makes that a bigger threat to you, which is kind of ironic. She'll turn that into you basically getting, especially if you're an ADC, you could literally die just from the minion explosions and player explosions around you. Uh, you know, and in a lot of ways, that's just one of the things that makes her completely broken. But then you have her root, which her root lasts the ring I believe is like 2 seconds or something like that. A little, maybe even a little longer, 2.5. That you could get stuck in it at any point if you walk into it, and then you still get rooted for the full amount of time that you would get rooted if you had stepped into it at the very beginning. You can't really jump over it if you're a lot of different people. There's many different heroes that don't have a way to get over it. Greystone, because of his arc, for some reason, will get caught in it every single time you try to jump out of it. The only people that can really get out of it are like Chimera, Rampage, Fang Mao, certain guys that can teleport up, Gideon. But that's the other thing. Those heroes are also prone to being frozen by her ultimate, which is, one of the big issues. Rampage and Chimera, obviously, and Zevlog have Hunter's Guile, which is one of the reasons why I've kind of leaned towards Zevlog as well. I mean, one of the positive turns of having her in the game has definitely been that I have started to explore heroes that I really didn't play before. But I mean, just I think in this build I had like 181 basic damage for like a 470 something point crit with like a 70, I think it was like a 76% chance to crit, which is just unbelievable, for somebody with so many different abilities that allow them to crowd control and deal damage as well. Obviously her dash ability doesn't often deal damage, but if you do get hit by it, it's like 200 something damage in game from ability. Her ring is like 300 plus if you step in it. Her ultimate is really not even actually like a static scaling. I think it's like 370. It's like 375 for you popping, and then additional damage from anybody else nearby, including minions that proc on you. So I mean, it literally can just absolutely look at that, just shred your health. I mean, granted, I had to dip out of there because there were so many people, but they don't really even have enough health to continue fighting at this point. And that's just the absolute crazy part about her. And then obviously, like you can see right here, I'm gaining like 55, 54 lifesteal per hit, which is basically making her like an ADC. She's as strong as Seraph, really, in terms of her damage output with basics. And then if you count the fact that she has probably arguably a better kit in terms of damage than Seraph, and easily more ability to evade and dodge than Seraph does. Seraph has obviously her invincibility, but her invincibility can be something that can also let her get screwed over, because if she procs it on too many minions, and sometimes it'll leave her stuck for too long and allow people to line up abilities to, stun her as soon as she comes out of it, whatever else. But she can use it to obviously dodge a lot of stuff, including like Steel's Bull Rush or Zevlog. She's immune to all CC during that time. But really, I mean, looking at her, my critical analysis on her is that she's just completely broken, and I don't think anybody else would argue with that. If you look at the All Heroes leaderboard on Aurora, for instance, she's honestly, of all the new heroes, the only one that's still maintained as much popularity as she has going out from that. She's still the number 3 hero on win rate and number 1 on pick rate, even now. Nobody else has maintained that. She's still sitting at a 2.5 KDA with 6.1 kills to 4.7 deaths, which is, by far and ahead the best hero in the entire game. The only one that even comes close in terms of kill to death spread is Countess, and pretty much everybody else is way behind that. There's nobody else that comes close. Now you see a little bit of variation in certain divisions with her. Kalari's pretty close, actually. But that's all I have to say.